everyone, it's Jena Apgar and I'm back for Business Growth Network's first Vision Challenge, and we are on day 5 talking about your personal reincarnation, and this is a huge build off of the one we did for day 4 where we discussed your catalyst moment and these big life-changing moments. For some of you, you'll find your catalyst moment is the moment you kind of reincarnated yourself, and for others it might be a completely different scenario where there was a bigger life event that you found you were able to reincarnate yourself. So just to kind of cover, where we're at first, like I'm loving hearing everybody's story and where you're at and how you're doing. Teresa, I know, is catching up. Who was I just looking at? Randy, you're all caught up and you've already posted, and several of you out there have come up with some really amazing stories, and you're pushing past the envelope and scratching below the surface. Still, I'm getting a lot of private emails where people are not quite ready to share some of their juicier tidbits, where there's a lot of emotion involved. And for your reincarnation, there's definitely going to be a lot of that. So everyone goes through dark times. Everyone has like a really big hiccup, whether you were broke. I've seen some entrepreneurs who are very honest, where they've had drug addictions, where they've had to come back from amazingly painstaking rock bottoms. And I know some of you have been very hesitant to share that even inside the private group, the Vision group, Vision Challenge EG group, because you're just not sure how people are going to take that. It was one of the things John and I discussed the other day, John Moore, who's doing this as well. And it needs to be less about how someone's going to accept you for what you're saying, and more about knowing and understanding that, on day 3 we talked about your ideal client. And one of the things that needs to be included in your ideal client is they accept you for you, and you're very authentic you. So how you reincarnate yourself, and so one of the, like going back to the drug story, that's one of the most awful ones. Who wants to share that they were a meth addict and some of the horrible things they've done and ending up in jail and ruining families? That's a very easy situation to judge, and it's a huge mountain to overcome and get past that and move into a place that you're successful. But when you can share a story that way that is incredibly personal, you'll find yourself, when you start telling that story and that you're brave enough and you've come to terms with that story that you can share it, it will shut a room down. I was at the Richardson Plano Networkers group today teaching everyone about Evernote, and there was a young lady in there, Virginia Beaver, and she helps people with their interpersonal relationships with their husband and their children. And when you hear her give her 30-second pitch, now obviously 30 seconds, it's not a lot of time to get to know someone. Incredibly difficult in these kind of vapid pitch fest to get the audience to empathize with you, to really connect with you on an emotional level. And sometimes her very first words out of her mouth are, I had children and, my son died. And that's how I started, realizing how important it was to spend the time we have on this earth communicating with them. And that is obviously a very dark day for her. It was the day she was able to reincarnate herself and change her life, in a huge catalyst moment. But when she says something like that, the room just stops and stands still. So everyone who's just casually listening, they're eating and they're playing with their phones and they're emailing people, you can't help but just stop for a moment and be like, whoa. And kind of take that in, and that level of vulnerability in, and know that this is a person who's truly speaking from the heart. And so I want you to really get to know your reincarnation story. When did you hit that rock bottom moment, and how did you overcome it? And that overcoming it is a huge part of this story, because so many people get trapped in their day-to-day lives, and when they do hit rock bottom, you have the option to go far deeper. You have the option to stay still and complain about where you're at, or you have the option to move forward. And how you overcome those mountains, how you overcome those obstacles, is part of your story and part of what makes you uniquely you. I know personally I had an ex-boyfriend who asked me what I regretted in life and what I would change. And I was just like, absolutely nothing. For every mistake I've ever made, I learned something and I was able to overcome it. And all those mistakes, all those missteps, all those bad days make you who you are. They give you the knowledge base that you're able to move forward from. And in those reincarnation moments, in those moments where we've really moved mountains and overcome them, there's a lot of power into that, because when we can find a way to share those moments, we can connect to people in a way that no one else in our circle can. Because if somebody relates to those issues, if somebody, going back to the drug one, if someone's been a drug user themselves and hit rock bottom, or they have someone in their family, you've now created a strong personal connection that no one else is going to be able to match outside of that. And when you can pull that into your business and find ways where, you know, you've reincarnated yourself and that helped push you through in business, that's a great way to focus your energy and say that I can specifically help my target group the best because I have these personal and unique stories. And I think David's not here. I mentioned he's with Family Business Commenting. Hi, David. Watching live now, but we were kind of like, what kind of word do we use to describe what we're discussing? Or is the person reinventing themselves? But that really lacks the oomph. You know, reinventing doesn't seem like a big deal. We discussed like a phoenix, but a phoenix, you know, burns down and then kind of comes back to life. But that kind of implies that you're down in the dirt and that you've at the end of a life cycle and starting a brand new one. And pointing out that, you know, to reincarnate oneself is, you know, you've taken the idea of all the things that you've done in the past, and whether you've done good things, whether you've helped people, and you're coming back as something better, something that's reached its next level in life. And you can keep reincarnating yourself year after year, month after month. It doesn't have to stop in one spot. So you can kind of keep it personal, or you can keep it strictly business, but definitely let us know, when were you at your lowest point in business? Make sure to journal this out. This can be both personal and business, or you can keep it strictly business. There's just always going to be a road hump. Nothing in life is... Cut out there for a second. But nothing in the road is easy and smooth flowing. There's always going to be bumps in the road, and there's always going to be mountains to climb. No successful entrepreneur, solopreneur, small business owner, even large corporations have ever been able to move forward and have amazing stratospheric growth without having to overcome a mountain. If you're just following the road that's already been paved, you know, cut out of the mountain, that's the easy stuff. That's what anybody can do, and everyone's going to sit there and follow that path, and you're going to have the exact same results as everybody else. When you're capable of looking at the mountain and saying, nobody's gone that way, and everyone's going to look at you and say, stop, there's a reason, it's hard. Of course it is. That's the reason no one's done it before. But when you can find a way to reincarnate yourself, to find the abilities, to find the people that you need to bring in your life, to learn the methods and the tasks and the new ideas that you need to tackle that mountain, then you can get to the other side of it where no one else has been before. So, you know, go on, let us know, or at least in your journal, write down what your, you know, where's your rock bottom in business? Where were your biggest fears at? And then what got you there in the first place, because nobody wants to replicate those moments if possible. But also continue going on, and, you know, how did you see the light? How did you find a path to keep going? The will to keep going even can be a huge aspect of, you know, how you were able to reincarnate yourself. Were certain family and friends there? Were certain family and friends negative and weighing you down? Did you have to cut them out of your life? That's really hard, but they can definitely help you or hinder you in one direction or the other. And I really want you to dig deep, and this will be kind of painful or emotional, I know. David and I discussed that women tend to do these activities a lot better, and men tend to want to keep it on the surface and not dig deep here. But don't be afraid to dig deep. You don't necessarily have to share it with us, but we definitely want you to share. But go as deep as you can and keep asking yourself why, and really explore those moments in time that you hit a hard space, and how did you overcome them, and find a place inside yourself where you can share them. For your public posting, got 3 little lines, kind of pick and choose for whichever one looks best. I've got one that I kicked fear's booty when I fill in the blank there. And that fear can be anything. It can be the fear of starting your own business. If you're coming out of the corporate world and you've constantly got this $5,000 check every single October 1st, November 1st, December 1st, $5,000 in the bank. That's a big fear when you have to go on to the entrepreneurial side, and not only do you have expenses, but you don't get that paycheck, but it's also, I'm at negative $3,000 because I have overhead. Number 2, I didn't let blank get in the way of me rising to my dreams. So for challenge number 2, we really talked about completely letting go of all the limitations, all the roadblocks, and just focusing on an ideal future, ignoring everything in your past, ignoring everything in your current situation. And this is a good time to say, you know, I didn't let this roadblock stop me. This is how I was able to conquer it. And for the third one, my personal reincarnation was, this is especially a good one if you want to share kind of like your full story. Who was it? I think Teresa did an outstanding job on her number 2. I love to see people's full journal entries and full stories where you can really get to know somebody on a personal level right through Facebook. And make sure you post all of these with hashtag Vision Challenge and hashtag Day 5. Teresa asked a good question. We're not all the way established on Twitter and Instagram. We are very, very new. But we do have locations on there, and more importantly, on Instagram and Twitter, it is incredibly easy for me to find your communications. If you hashtag them with the Vision Challenge, I'll be able to find you lickety-splickety, no big deal. It's actually easier to find you there than if you're on Facebook. Facebook is where I really need you to call out Business Growth Network. Just Facebook is not a hashtag friendly place. That's not how their, not personality, their restrictions work so that you can keep your private life private. And go ahead, this is the weekend now, so we're not going to have any emails coming this weekend. I have everything set to come Monday morning. Trying to let the latecomers in. I think I might have accidentally pulled everyone out of the emails, so I will have to go back and check and move y'all back in, but I will make sure they come in at 9 a.m. your time Monday morning, so no weekend homework. Use that time to go ahead, and if you didn't get to all the challenges, use the weekend to kind of make up some of that time and, you know, go back and review them, like your why, now that you've dug a little deeper and you've gotten a little bit more personal with yourself and maybe even discussed it with a spouse or a business partner. Go back and revisit some of your answers to see if you can answer them more completely, more fully, and from a more personal level. And let's see if I have anything else here. Make sure to say hi to David, who's helping with some issues with his mom this week, and we'll see him back on Monday, hopefully. And if you have any questions, it's Facebook Live. Just let me know in the comments below. Feel free to use the like button, the loves buttons, and the angry and all that, and tell me how you're feeling about what we're doing. And I will see you tomorrow to re-go over the very first day challenge that I missed about your why. So have a wonderful weekend, and love and kiss your families. Bye.